Let's now go across to Dr. VK Paul, chairperson of the government's COVID-19 task force. He's one of the key pillars of the government's planning of its COVID-19 response. Dr. Paul, welcome, and you've given to Indian citizens the best possible news, the fact that government has approved the rollout of these two Desi manufactured vaccines, and that's a good news. That's a good note for everyone to start the new year with. So welcome, Dr. Paul. It's great to have you with us on India Today.
Well, welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is indeed a very important day, and it makes us proud as Indians.
Dr. Paul, in that press conference done by the Director General of, in the manner in which the approvals were announced, what's not certain from the drug controller are a few questions which I hope to put to you over the next several minutes. Question number one, when does the actual vaccine rollout start? Do you have a firm date in your mind at this moment? When will the first vaccine to the first citizen of India be administered after these emergency approvals?
Well, Rahul, the most important rate limiting step or the rate limiting milestone has been achieved today, because vaccines can only be rolled out once there is a licensure. So today we have the licensure, but as you are aware, in parallel, a massive preparation has been going on. And yesterday we had a nationwide dry run, so to speak, the mock run or a rehearsal on a national scale. So the preparations have been moving pretty well, and today the licensure has been granted to the vaccines, and now it is only a matter of days, or I would say very few days, when a launch can take place. Please remember, only after the licensure does the supply picks up. The supply of vaccines has to move to the major hubs, storage hubs that we have in the country. These are about 30 plus storage hubs, and from there then the state level supply chain happen through the cold chain all through. This will start very, very soon. At the same time, last minute preparations in terms of micro planning will also begin at the points where the launch would start and the rollout will happen. So I would say it's a matter of a very few days. We are on track, and you will hear about a date very soon.
Okay, let's take the two vaccine candidates separately. I'll start with Bharat Biotech first, because lesser is known about them in the public domain. Question number one, what are the results of the efficacy clinical trials and the phase 3 trials of the Bharat Biotech vaccine? So far, those details aren't out yet, and people have questions about how efficacious and effective that vaccine really is.
Well, these details will be put out very soon, as per the practice of the DCGI system, and you will see them as they appear. But in principle, broadly, this is where we are. They have given vaccine in phase 3 to more than 22,000 individuals. Second dosing has been done to a fewer number of people, and these individuals in phase 3 trial, both in the placebo and the vaccine arms, are on follow-up. From phase 3 data, as yet, efficacy data is not available. This efficacy data would appear in time as the follow-up of the people who have been dosed is available in time to come. But remember, the reason why an emergency use licensure has been given based on the available proceedings of the subject expert committee are in a different light. Firstly, there is safety data which is now available on such a large number of Indians, including the phase 3 subjects, in such a large number. Safety issue is settled, more or less. It is only having minimal side effects, if at all, and very, very acceptable level. In any case, we did not expect many side effects because it's a killed virus vaccine. Number two, immunogenicity, the second criteria, has been eminently proven already. It was proven in multiple animal models which were given a challenge of the virus. They were actually exposed to live virus in a very controlled environment in our national NIV, National Institute of Virology. That proof exists, and subsequently, of course, in phase 1 and phase 2 and part phase 3, strong immunogenicity data is available. These two criteria are met. Efficacy data will come as the clinical trial, which is ongoing, reaches its endpoints in terms of events of COVID-19 infection. But remember, the reason why I believe the scientific expert group, which comprises clinicians and basic scientists and others, very eminent people, have taken this decision is in the light of one or two things. And that, I think, is a moot point that should be known to people. Firstly, a killed virus vaccine, as it exists today, this vaccine is producing immune response to multiple proteins or antigens on the surface of the virus. Let me explain what it means. Most other vaccines are targeting the S protein or parts of the S protein, the spike protein, whether it is Moderna vaccine or Pfizer, or for that matter, Covishield, or even the Sputnik vaccine. So in case there is a perturbation around that protein, as we had feared in relation to the UK variant, then these vaccines could potentially be losing efficacy. Potentially. We hope they won't. And they have not. We can authentically say, till today, there is no question about any mutant disturbing the efficacy of all the other vaccines that we are hearing about. That's a given fact. However, in the case of this vaccine, since it is picking up the immunogenicity against multiple proteins on the surface of the virus, it is unlikely, for all practical purposes, perhaps never, would actually be disturbed by mutations unless they happen in so many different ways. So it is a vaccine which, in the face
can
of
I ask one question, sir? You just
would still continue to work. This has been an important consideration.
Sir, sure, and I appreciate that. But here's the brass tacks. The phase 3 clinical trials are still going on. The efficiency data is not available, not just to us, but also to government. And you've gone ahead and given emergency use licensure. Now the question is, while of course everyone is desperately waiting for a vaccine and they want it to be rolled out as soon as possible so that people can get the injection, get on with their lives, but are we rushing the process through? What is it that you wish to say to those who are skeptics, who are not convinced with the fact that efficiency data is not available, yet clearances have been given? You're hoping, and you've given an elaborate reason for why you believe that it shouldn't have an effect, but isn't equal to 100%. So basically, we're giving clearance without being 100%. Is that correct?
Well, Rahul, that is why it is emergency use authorization. Remember, an emergency use authorization, even in the case of any other vaccine, is in the face of a relatively less complete data and information. That's why it's an emergency authorization. And remember the other condition, which covers the point that you're making. It is said in the recommendation, and I support that when you use this vaccine, unlike the Covishield vaccine, you will use it in the clinical trial mode. This is a very critical conditionality attached to the use of ICMR Bharat Biotech vaccine. That means those who will receive this vaccine will be followed up and will be treated as if they are part of a clinical trial. They will be consenting to be a part of receiving the vaccine. In any case, all vaccines are voluntary to be taken, and they'll be followed up as if they are in a clinical trial, and they'll be watched they'll be observed in a very keen manner. And thirdly, remember, the clinical trial goes on. And as it unfolds, as the efficacy data becomes available, further decisions by the DCGI would be taken. So it is, you see, why we have gone for this, I believe, is because there is an emergency situation. It is our guarantee against particularly potential mutations that may vitiate the utility of other vaccines. And God forbid, if we have a massive outbreak of such variants of the virus, we would be in a fix. And this vaccine is therefore a special guarantee for us. At the same time, it is to be operated within the system which is scientifically valid and appropriate under the oversight of the clinical trial regime.
Dr. VK Paul, how many of these two vaccines is the government purchasing from the companies in phase 1? How many are you purchasing from Bharat Biotech? How many are you purchasing from Serum Institute? And what will be the scale of the rollout, say in the first 1 month? In the first 1 month, how many vaccines do you hope to administer to citizens of this country?
Well, the specific number is yet to be decided. As you know, the first wave is to cover 30 crore individuals. 26 crore of them are people above the age of 50, and that's a real focus of the first wave. But to begin the first wave would be the vaccination of healthcare workers and frontline workers. And then as it picks up, the other waves will start, and at a given time, then they'll be all operating simultaneously in very near future. We still have to work out exact how many doses have to be ordered, let's say this month, and how many to come next month. I think it's a matter of time now that we know that we have these two options. So this will unfold. But remember, we would like to complete vaccination of the people overall in the quickest time possible based on the availability of the total repertoire of vaccines that we have. Tomorrow, we may have a third vaccine. Sputnik vaccine may be available, Cadila vaccine may be available. So the stockpile will be building up steadily, and the speed of vaccination would also increase in keeping with the available stockpile, available supplies as they build up. And therefore, it is our hope that these 300 million people, the entire first wave, could be covered in a matter of a few months. And from our point of view, soonest possible. Because to administer vaccine on ground, we have time-tested programs such as the UIP and our election experience. So that can happen pretty rapidly. But it has to be matched with the available supply.
Okay.
And the supply chain.
I also want to welcome on this broadcast now Professor Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. As I say, a thank you to Dr. VK Paul, who's the chairperson of the government's COVID-19 task force. Thank you, Dr. Paul, and welcome, Professor Vijay Raghavan. And this is indeed a big day, the first Indian vaccines getting approval. But I have a few questions I want to build on. Between the time that the vaccine leaves, the manufacturing facility reaches the logistics hubs, goes to the end point where the vaccine will be administered, how are you hoping to ensure that there is no contamination? Because these vaccines require cold storage. We know that electricity is patchy in certain parts of our country, especially in rural India. We also know that cold storage in a clinical trial in comparison with the real world is very different. So how do you ensure? It's happened in the US. I mean, there the refrigeration norms are also slightly different, but it's happened in the US where some vaccines couldn't be administered in time, they went waste. So how foolproof do you think this process will be from the manufacturing facilities to the end point? Professor Vijay Raghavan.
Thank you very much. The cold chain process rigor is something which has been put in place very well for some time now in our maternal and childhood immunization programs. This program, of course, now is a much larger scale, but that too has been put in place with multiple dry runs. These dry runs involve tests of cold chain reliability, which is automated and then verified by digital mechanisms. So if a vaccine carton or a container or the bulk has altered its temperature for any period of time which is deleterious, we would know immediately.
What happens to those who are outside the plus 50 comorbid category and are hoping to get a vaccine? Is there any thought in government yet about when these vaccines could be sold to those who can afford them and want to purchase them from a chemist in the open market?
We have been extraordinarily patient over the year, and indeed, if you look back, a year is a very short period for vaccine development. A few more months, we would have bulk availability of these vaccines, other vaccines, in a manner where these questions would be moot. So I would counsel a little patience. Those who are comorbid outside this category and who need vaccines, of course, they also will fall into the priority groups and they will get that. But as bulk availability becomes more and more ready, you're going to see more and more ease of these kinds of questions being answered.
Last week I was at the manufacturing facilities of the Serum Institute in Pune, and there I learned that the government has so far ordered 2 crore vaccine doses in the first phase. They are sitting on a manufacturing storage of 5 crore, 50 million doses. And what happens to the remaining? Does the government have the capacity to be able to purchase all that Bharat Biotech, Serum, other companies in India can produce, or will the government be constrained in terms of what it can possibly consume and distribute?
You know, there have been multiple meetings over the past few months in which finance ministry officials were also present, and they have set aside very significant resources to be able to purchase outright. In addition, later on going ahead, there will be multiple instruments available to ensure vaccine supplies to all those who need it are not wanting. So I would not worry about that. Vaccines.
No, but can you give us a specific amount that you think the government has set aside for the vaccine project? There was some talk of how maybe the ask was 80,000 crore rupees for this vaccine rollout. What is the quantum of resources the government has set aside? Is there clarity on that?
Yeah. What happens is, in terms of pricing of vaccines, that is a matter which is negotiated with multiple groups and agencies. India is very fortunate that because of the manufacturing in India, the costs are much lower than what they are in the West. For example, in the West, typically costs would range from the tens of dollars, and here they would range in a few dollars per vial. And therefore, those costs are much more reasonable than what is there internationally. So I can't tell you the exact figure, but it'll be something which India can afford, and certainly the government will set aside.
We have 1.3 billion plus people in this country, Dr. Vijay. How many do you think will need to be vaccinated? Are you looking to vaccinate the entire population in the first phase? You're looking at 30 crore people being vaccinated. What is the end point of this project? How many people in India will need to be vaccinated?
I'm glad you asked this question because this is a very important scientific question. There are multiple parameters involved. First, properties of the vaccine. How effective is the vaccine in the field? So that's a certain number which should be judged as vaccines are rolled out. But that also relates to how infective the disease is. That's an intrinsic property of the virus. And there could be strains which are more transmissible or less transmissible. Thirdly, the transmissibility is also a property of how we behave, how close to each other we are, what distance we keep, whether we wear masks or not, how distributed our population is, our demography is. So all these parameters add up to a input into equation from which one can calculate what level of vaccination is needed to acquire vaccine-derived immunity. Given the situation with the virus and how worrying changes are already taking place in some parts of the world and reaching everywhere else, I would say it's very important as vaccination progresses. It's just started, it's not yet actually started. We must put in place all the other measures to increase distancing effectively by wearing masks and other non-pharmaceutical interventions, so that vaccines are very effective even as viral strains might become more transmissible.
People who are watching will wonder, should I get the Bharat Biotech vaccine? Should I get the Serum vaccine? Should I wait for Sputnik 5? Should I wait for Pfizer or Moderna? Especially Pfizer is the best known of these pharma companies. How do you look at this question about choice? What's the difference according to you between the Bharat Biotech vaccine and the Serum Institute vaccine? And would you, for example, rather wait for Pfizer to come to India and then try and get hold of a Pfizer vaccine?
We must understand what the authorizations are. The current authorization for serum is for emergency use in specific kinds of contexts. The authorization for Bharat is slightly different. It requires a calibration of the context a little more carefully, where there are potential dangers of other vaccines or new strains being troublesome. And then the other third set of vaccines, like Pfizer and Moderna, are not yet in India. I would say in summary that if a vaccine is made available to you in a public immunization program, you can be assured that it's gone through steps which are safe, there is immunogenicity, and there's efficacy. And we should have no hesitation in taking that.
No, sure, I hear what you're saying, but even you don't know at this time what is the efficacy of the phase 3 of the Bharat Biotech vaccine. The trial is on, the efficacy data hasn't been made public, and since the trial is on, the efficacy data isn't final. So yes, you're saying Ram Bharose, Bhagwan ka naam leke, have faith in us and take the vaccine. But like I know, for example, that in Moderna and Pfizer's case it's 94.5, 94, in one case it's 90 plus, in the case of Serum it's 70 plus. In the case of Bharat Biotech, I don't know. So yes, I do, and I'm sure many people will relate to this. We do believe in the idea that you have to get a vaccine, but are we rushing the process too much?
Well, you must again read carefully what the drug controller and the health ministry's statements are. They basically say that the Bharat Biotech vaccine will be given in situations which are carefully monitored in a sort of clinical trial equivalent context, while the third phase clinical trial is independently going on. So those efficacy results will come, they will be evaluated, and an authorization, should everything go okay, will be given. This current situation is for a state where the decisions are being taken in case there is a serious situation which warrants their administration. So you're not going to see, unlike the Serum situation, it rolled out in that level to frontline workers and healthcare workers. And by the time that phase is complete, we're going to see results from the Bharat Biotech third phase trials, and we will know where we stand. And all indications are that one can have an expectation of success there, but until that is over, it's not over.
Is there a particular date in mind? There's some talk about Makar Sankranti, there's some talk about Republic Day. Which is the day that the first Indian dose will be administered on an Indian citizen, sir?
Well, you heard Dr. Paul and earlier Dr. Guleria on various channels. The expectation is that all the steps will be done in a few days' time, which is about a week or 12 days or 15 days, and we're likely to see vaccination rolling out in that period.
What do you think about the politics that's broken out? We saw Akhilesh Yadav say ye BJP ki vaccine hai, ye main nahi lagaunga. This is a problem globally. We saw it with Donald Trump in the United States. Very strong anti-vaccine sense coming out among some Trump supporters. And now in India as well, you've got politics raging. Some members of the Congress have spoken out. Akhilesh Yadav, the most notable leader of the Samajwadi Party, speaking out against the vaccines. How badly could political comments like these jeopardize the vaccine rollout and people's faith in what they're being administered?
That is not an area of my expertise, and so I can't get into that. But let me say, importantly, that there will be a variety of different kinds of questions on vaccines. It's important that public leaders speak with care and caution about their views because their views have an extraordinary impact. It is perfectly legitimate, however, to raise important questions, and it's important that scientists answer these questions. So the framing of the questions and the concerns needs to be done fully, and all of us in science will be very happy to answer them fully.
And finally, what about those who say, "Hame tika nahi lagana"? You know, there's all kinds of controversies about whether there's some pork product, whether there's some beef product in the vaccine. There are all kinds of religious leaders, apart from the politicians, who've been speaking out. Is there a plan that the scientists community has to try and assuage concerns of those who are being swayed by these vaccine naysayers, skeptics?
You know, we have gone through an incredible year where there's been phenomenal suffering and mortality all over the world. Vaccines, all said and done, provide the safe way out. And vaccines are given to healthy people and therefore must go through rigorous trials and then be introduced. It's very important to keep in mind, therefore, that when people raise these concerns, better communication is absolutely important, because unless most people take vaccines and unless they take them willingly, we will not be protected against this disease. So it's important that a good communication program which persuades people that this is the right thing to do is conducted, and that's very important.
I'll leave it over there. Professor Vijay Raghavan, thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you all the best with what is arguably mankind's biggest ever vaccine rollout. You know, there have been multiple vaccines over the decades that have been rolled out, but never at such speed, at some scale, with concerns about safety and efficacy. We'll track how this goes, but a big decisions taken today, formalized and made public. We wish you all the best for the next steps. Thank you very much, Professor Raghavan, for joining us.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.